some important breaking and exclusive new CNN reporting about the special counsel investigation and that audio recording of the former president, Donald Trump. Sources now telling CNN that Trump attorneys turned over material in mid-March, 2.5 months ago, in mid-March, connected to a classified military document, the one prosecutors hear Mr. Trump describe on that audio recording now in their possession. That tape prompting a fresh subpoena from special counsel Jack Smith's investigators for any and all documents related to Mark Milley, General Mark Milley, the Joint Chiefs Chair, or Iran. Sources telling CNN there's also a big unknown, whether that document in question, an Iran attack plan, was ever actually returned to the government. Let's break down this important reporting. It's beginning with the team behind it. CNN's Caitlin Collins joins us from New York. CNN's Paula Reed is here with me in Washington, along with the former federal prosecutor, Elliot Williams. Caitlin Collins, let me start with you, and I just want to go through a little bit of the timeline. We reported yesterday that prosecutors have this audio recording of Donald Trump talking about having a classified document, saying on that audio recording that he wishes he could share it, but he knows he can't, which is important. Now in this new reporting, you and your colleagues, number one, there's a Trump aide, Margot Martin, who goes before the grand jury. When she goes before the grand jury, they have an audio recording. And after her testimony, they send a subpoena to Trump attorneys. Walk us through the significance of this.
Yeah, so Margot Martin, who is a former White House press aide who followed Trump and works in his post-presidency office down in Mar-a-Lago, went before investigators back in mid-March. She was there when she testified. They played this audio recording that we broke the reporting on for her. And we are told that shortly after she left that is when prosecutors sent a subpoena asking for any and all documents related to General Mark Milley, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Iran. They were seeking any of these documents, but I'm told it was also made clear to the Trump legal team that prosecutors specifically wanted the document that Trump references on that audio recording. We know that document is related to Iran. We know that it is also related to General Milley. That's what Trump indicated in that audio recording that prosecutors now have in their possession. But here's what's key here. I am told that Trump's attorneys were unable to find this document. They turned over some material related to this federal subpoena that they got seeking this information related to Iran and General Mark Milley. But the document itself that Trump references on that audio recording, they were unable to provide to the federal government. So, of course, that has raised a lot of questions about that document in and of itself. When I asked Jim Trusty, Trump's attorney, about this the other night, whether or not that document had been returned to the National Archives, he declined to say, and he also declined to tell Abby Phillip whether or not it had been declassified. But it does speak to the level of difficulty that the government has had in getting these documents back. I mean, we've seen how this fight has played out, where they turned over boxes of documents. Then the search warrant was, of course, executed at Mar-a-Lago, where they brought more documents back to the federal government. But it's this document specifically that I am told they were seeking after Margot Martin came before the investigators back in mid-March. They turned over other stuff, but they could not locate this document itself to turn over.
Caitlin, stand by. So, Paula Reed, we go back through this timeline. I want to do it with as much specificity as we can. Number one, the Trump aide goes before the grand jury. Mm-hmm. Number two, shortly thereafter, your reporting is very quickly thereafter, they issue the subpoena. And then there is a, forgive my language for people at home, sort of a holy moment among all the attorneys because the Trump legal team, again, blindsided by something.
Sure. Very shortly after Margot Martin and her attorney left the courthouse, one of Trump's attorneys received a subpoena for any and all materials related to Iran and or General Milley. And initially there was a little bit of confusion. Wait, why are they asking for this specifically? And then shortly thereafter, they were able to kind of figure out what had happened. Margot had been asked about this. And it was surprising to me to learn from our sources that this was the first time, we're told, that the legal team heard anything about this recording or about this specific meeting. So they tried to comply with the subpoena, we're told. They went, they spoke to aides, they got some transcripts, other materials that were responsive to the specific request from the Justice Department, but they were not able to find this document. And at this point, it is unclear if the government has it. Now, I will note that, of course, the Trump team did give 15 boxes of materials to the archives. They've said in a letter to Congress that they did not go through those before they sent them to the archives. And also, of course, the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago and took some classified documents. Now, you would think if the government already had it, they wouldn't ask for it again. But at this point, we know the Trump team could not find it, and it's unclear if the government has this.
And Caitlin Collins, before this new wave of reporting, the additional reporting, last night in a town hall with Sean Hannity, Trump was asked about the CNN reporting just about the audio tape. This was his answer.
I don't know anything about it. All I know is this: everything I did was right. We have the Presidential Records Act, which I abided by 100%. It's a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. It's a hoax. And it has to do more than anything else with trying to interfere with the election.
I'll come back to this point a little bit later. Let me make it quickly now. You asked much more specific and smarter questions when you had them in a town hall. We will get to some of that and the significance of it, actually, the very important significance in a moment. But the question is, Trump says he doesn't know anything about it. From our reporting, where's the document? Does anybody know?
It's a good question. What we know about the document itself is that it is related to Iran. We are told when we were first reporting on this that it actually wasn't something that was produced by General Milley. The dates on it predated when he became chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Something I should note, he was picked by Trump to do that job. He became that in 2019. So it was before that this document was created, we are told. But Trump was essentially using it to say that it would undermine and undercut what Milley was saying and reporting about him. For the document itself, that's a good question. I mean, what we do know is that prosecutors wanted this specific document themselves. Of course, the question is whether it's to fingerprint it, what to do with it, it's not totally clear. I should also note that from our reporting, we've asked a lot of people, when Trump was in that summer 2021 meeting, did he actually have the document in his hand as you could hear it being rustled around, some paper in that audio, or was he simply referencing this document? Those have been questions that we've asked his attorneys. They have not offered specifics on that. And so I do think that is a big question, because clearly what prosecutors wanted here was seeking the document that Trump believed he had in his possession. They wanted to have their own hands on it. Now, they could certainly have copies of it from the Pentagon. That's something that has still also remained unclear. But what is clear is that Trump's attorneys went and looked for this document because they knew prosecutors were looking for it, but they weren't able to find it to turn it over to them. That comes after they had turned over 15 boxes in the first tranche that was sent back. That comes after the search warrant happened and they took hundreds of documents. Then they still were unable to find this document specifically, which we know had been taken to Bedminster, we believe had been taken to Bedminster because Trump was referencing it in that Bedminster meeting. That's his New Jersey club. And so there are still big questions of where this document is today. And when we've asked Trump's attorneys, has this specific one been returned to the National Archives, they declined to answer. And
so, again, Elliot, I'll come to you in a second to give us a Paul. I just want to stick with this important reporting in the sense of what we know and what we don't know, because that's part of the building of this. So we talk about this specific document still remains a mystery. But when you listen to everything you're reporting today and in the additional reporting about they have the recording, they bring in the Trump media aide who was in the room in Bedminster when all of this happened. There may be some open questions for prosecutors, but it is clear that they are methodically compiling audio evidence, who was in the room. They are documenting this in a pretty methodical way.
Absolutely. We know that this audio recording has been a focus for the Justice Department in recent months. But over the course of this entire investigation, the Justice Department has repeatedly expressed skepticism about whether the former president and his team have turned over all of the classified materials, and that has turned out to be a well-founded concern. Since, of course, they asked for the materials to be turned over, they met with Trump attorneys, and the FBI did a search of Mar-a-Lago. Then there were subsequent hearings discussing the need for additional searches, which were conducted by investigators hired by the Trump team. Some additional documents did turn up. I'll also note that one of Trump's now former attorneys, Tim Parlatore, did say that he got some resistance to the idea of doing that subsequent search of Bedminster late last year. And there's a question about whether this document, this recording, whether that was part of the reason there was resistance. But at this point, again, we don't know where this document is.
All right, Elliot Williams, been very patient. Thank you. Put yourself in the prosecutor's war room, essentially, and you're building your case and all the evidence we just went through, including this new reporting that not only did have the audio tape, but they had an aide come in and testify before the grand jury who was in the room when it was made. They immediately issue a subpoena. Then in mid-March of this year, remember the Trump people said a long time ago they had returned all the documents. In mid-March of this year, they're getting new documents. They might not all be classified documents. They could be just simply related to the subpoena. But what does that tell you?
Yeah, it's a couple things. Number one, to back up Paul's point, they are building, you got to have the person to testify about it, the person to testify about the evidence, and also the video evidence and someone to authenticate the video. That's just sort of the nuts and bolts of prosecuting. What we're not talking about, though, is the substance of the document. which is itself relevant to at least one criminal statute. When you mishandle, possess, or transfer information related to the national defense or that you believe could be used to the injury of the United States, that's itself a federal crime, regardless of whether the document itself has been declassified or not. And I think the president's not getting this point that, okay, maybe you declassified it. Sure, you did, but it's still a defense document. And that, under one of the statutes that they are investigating, is itself a crime.